So there should be a sidebar for comments.
Okay. Yeah.
We are live though.
We're live.
So I'm going to wait for people to come in.
That sound. Want to see something cool I found at the car boot early today? For 50 English pence.
Oh, wow.
Have we got anyone joined us yet? No.
We have Brad. We have Bisto.
Way. How you doing, Bisto? How you doing, Brad?
Thanks for coming in, fellas. We're going to give it 30 seconds, let a few more people come in, and then we will get started on the Bots at Home fan panel.
I wonder if Jermaine's joining us, or if he's off his tits on wine or whatever else he's drinking.
Yeah. I wonder if he's on the coffees yet, or just cuddling the toilet seat.
Yeah, he's here, look. He
is.
He can type. You all right, Jermaine?
So, are you ready?
Let's go for it.
Figure Force is the codename of 4 daring, middle-aged, highly obsessed toy vloggers. Its purpose: to bring toy reviews and nostalgia to YouTube and Instagram, video sharing websites that allow users to upload, view, share, and comment. Hi, I'm Rudy Sasu. This is Zort Rider, and this is the power of nostalgia.
Well
Didn't
done.
even
Without
mess
any
it up
mistakes.
once.
Well done. Well done.
It's probably
You've said that a
because
few times, mate.
I've been a member of Figure Force for a year and a half, and I've done that intro like 100 times. But yes, welcome to the Bots at Home fan panel, the live show of this weekend. It's totally unscripted. There's barely any plan. It's just thoughts in my head of something that could have been a few years ago at TFN. It's just like a Friday at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock at that convention. So let me hand over to Zort Rider to tell you all about Figure Force.
Okay, put me on the spot, Rudy. Cheers for that, mate.
Well, that's the whole point of it.
So
it was your idea, remember?
Well, I suppose it was back in the day, wasn't it? Before we had a name or anything like that. So I suppose the whole point of it is that in the past I'd done some videos with mainly Junkeep Dave, Borders Dude, and Retro Prime, where we had the Robot Wankers Collective. Obviously, that was great and really friendly for children and everything like that over that name. But it was great to be able to complement, I suppose, your different interests and your different skills. Dave is an amazing musician. He's really, really talented and he doesn't give himself justice. I like to think I'm quite creative. Retro Prime's got a great sense of humour and John's Scottish. So we thought we'd get together and we'd have that collaboration as Robot Wankers, and then met you at TFN in 2018. Got on really well. Me and Dave continued to talk about the stuff and do stuff together. And then it was just one day we thought, you know what, let's do it. I chatted to Dave, I asked you, asked John, and then we started to come up with a name, and that was Figure Force. I can't remember if you suggested that, mate. Did you suggest it?
I might even been Junkeep Dave.
Yeah,
because it was all about taking inspiration from Action Force and G.I. Joe, wasn't it? And
Yeah,
kind of creating that.
and I
And then,
suppose it was at the time as well when like I've been mainly a Transformers collector all my life, and I have dipped in and out of other collections, but in my adult life, mainly just collecting Transformers. And I suppose it was at that point that meeting you and Dave was going through the same thing of actually there's more to toy collecting than just Transformers. There's a lot more stuff out there. And I suppose the whole point of doing Figure Force was to do stuff that wasn't just Transformers related.
yeah, for sure. And that's why I wanted to come on board. Figure Force has always given me that opportunity to do things slightly different from my science fantasy experience. I think I've actually done more Transformers content on Figure Force than I have my own
But that's
channel.
because you aren't solely into your Transformers, aren't you? Your channel wasn't Transformers
No,
orientated as such.
I've always just been literally just a toy collector and a toy channel, but I absolutely adore Transformers.
Mm.
So it was always going to be that element.
Mm.
So yeah, that's our little brief history on Figure Force. As I
And
said, go on.
carry on, Rudy. Sorry, there was a bit of a delay there, mate.
As I said, this would have I would have liked to have come to TFN 2019 or 2020 and done a Figure Force fan panel on that Friday. And my whole thought was to do the introduction, to talk about Figure Force, what it was, who we are, the type of videos that we do, and then talk about what it's like to be part of a collective. And then we would kind of go into like a questions and answers and show and talk about our experiences of Transformers since 1984. So we're kind of going to do that now. If you want to chat about some bits from the 80s, or we can take questions from the chat.
So, what is your first memory of Transformers? Tell me that then, Rudy.
So mine is watching Wackaday,
Yeah.
where they used to cut up an episode across the 5 days in the 6 weeks holidays, and you'd watch 5 minutes every day. That's my first kind of
I
bit
always
of
remember
Transformers.
Timmy. I remember. I didn't know it was in one episode cut up over 5 days. I've just got this really vivid memory of Timmy Mallet going down on his knees, making the Transformers noise, and then pretending to be an Insecticon. And it's just
Yeah,
clear as day in my head. And I can't remember anything else. Just that it cut into a scene of Insecticons, and
and
that's my only memory of Wackaday.
then they would show like a full episode on a Saturday.
Mm.
And then you've kind of got like Ladybird books and colouring books and playing in the playground and, you know, taking toys in on the last day of term and seeing everyone else's Transformers and playing with them. They're the first type of memories of Transformers.
So I suppose mine was. Remember in the good old days when we had video shops, and we could go up there, you could go and rent a video or whatever. I was obsessed with the GoBot movie, and I remember going up there every weekend and renting the GoBot movie. And I remember my dad turning around to me and saying, "Don't have that this weekend. Why don't you try this one?" Which was a Transformers the movie 1986. And I couldn't have been very old for something like that. Anyway, and you would think this is the part of the story where I'll tell you it was love at first sight. It wasn't. I broke down into tears when I saw the Quintessons. I was scared shitless of them, and then I made my dad take the video back and get me the GoBots movie again. And it
Excellent.
was it was only it was
Safety net.
probably yeah. Go and get me Leader One. I can deal with Cycle. I can't deal with this Monster Planet eating bloody robots. I can't deal with it. Money for Dad. Anyway, like I remember then eventually seeing it again. I think it must have been about 6 months later, something like that. And that's when I really fell in love with it. And that's why it's probably my favourite film of all time. Not the best film I've ever seen by a million miles, but definitely my favourite.
I used to rent it quite often from the local video shop, Raven Video in Purton, just outside Wolverhampton. And they also had the Rebirth. They also had a 2-part video of The Revenge of Bruticus, and
Great video. I remember having that.
whichever, the Starscream's Brigade and The Revenge of Bruticus.
Yeah.
So that was a billed as a movie.
Yeah.
And they also had Grimlock's New Brain, and they kind of formed the basis of my favourite episodes for a long, long time.
Yeah. Those double videos were great. I always remember
50p to rent those ones.
Yeah, something stupid.
£1
like
for Transformers the movie.
It was mental. I remember having what was it called? The Key to Vector Sigma. I remember
Yeah.
having that on video and watching it loads and not realising that War Dawn was on after it. So it was after watching the Key to Vector Sigma, thinking that was the end of the video, I left it running and then War Dawn came on. And then I was obsessed with the fact that Optimus Prime was actually called Alpha Trion. My little brain couldn't deal with it. Not Alpha Trion, sorry, Roman Pax. My brain couldn't deal with it when I was a little kid. Amazing.
What about purchases? Spending pocket money or getting Transformers as gifts? Should we head down that conversation?
Shall we go down it? Do you want me to go first?
You can do, because yours is really quite poignant and special, isn't it? It's a heartfelt. I know the story, and for people that have been at TFN 2018 when you did the Attack of the Small YouTubers panel, tell that story again. It's a great story.
Yeah, so I've probably got three key like gifts, gifts and purchases, I suppose. So the first one was on my birthday, and I think I must have been 5, might have been 6. I can't quite remember. But I remember waking up in the morning and opening up cheap blue football wrapping paper to have 5 individually wrapped Combaticons. So that Bruticus was my first Transformer, and I remember opening it up in the morning. And then just before, I had like a little party with my family come round and everything like that. And I spotted this brown mailer up in the corner from the K's catalogue, and I had a little peek in it in the morning, and I spotted it was Power Master Prime. Anyway, at my party, my little family get together, I got that as a gift. And those were my first 2 Transformers, Power Master Prime and Bruticus. But the biggest memory I can remember, most vivid memory, was back when I was a little kid, and we used to go on the bus everywhere because neither of my parents drove. So I remember ages on the bus going to Sutton Coldfield to Woolworths, and I was looking for a hook and from the Constructicons, and I had the other 5, just couldn't find a hook. And apparently, in every mailing box, there was only one hook. They didn't have it, but I pre-ordered it. Well, my dad ordered it with the store in the Woolworths. Disappeared. Had a phone call the following week. Went all the way back on the bus. Get there to find out that they'd sold it to someone else. And I remember being on an escalator in absolute tears. I wasn't very old at all. It broke my heart. And then I went back home. I remember it was late at night. I fell asleep on the sofa, and there's a knock on the door, and it was actually the store manager of Woolworths who had bought me round a hook. Didn't charge us for it. He just went, "Here you are. That's for your lad." And it was, I can remember it clear as day, and staying up till really late, combining Devastator and all of that stuff. That was amazing. Amazing. I'm guessing that was the story you were talking about anyway, Rudy.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that story. It's something that probably every adult of a certain age can, in some ways, kind of associate with. It's that staying up late and the pure disappointment. Toys have that impact on you.
They do, but it was a different world back then, because
for sure.
If you could only get the toy if you could physically find it, actually go to a shop and find it. Whereas nowadays you can find it. It's just about whether you're willing to pay it or can afford it. It's a very different world now, and it's still. Remember that feeling in your chest where you saw a toy as a kid that you really needed, and it was there on the shelf in front of you, and you couldn't believe it. You couldn't believe your luck. I don't think we have that today, and maybe that's just because we got older. Maybe it's because the world's changed. How about you, Rudy?
But that's probably a bit of both, isn't it?
Yeah.
For me, I have fond memories of, do you know what, in some way, combiners, like your ones with Hook.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of pocket money memories, I had £5 pocket money, I'd say in like 87, 88. And I always kind of went to the toy shops on a Saturday, and I picked up, these were some of the later Transformers I had as a child. And one Saturday I went to the Manda Centre in
Good
Wolverhampton, and
old Manta Centre.
I went to is it called Tandy's? It was like a toy store stroke kind of computer store, so you could go and get Commodore 64 stuff and Spectrum 128K stuff, but they also had crazy amounts of toys in there, and I chose Afterburner. And I think, well, no, do you know what? This 87, I think that was when I got £1 pocket money, and I'd saved it up for the whole month. And I think I might have washed my dad's car to get an extra pound to give me £5, because buying a combiner limb was £4.99, and I chose Afterburner. And I only chose Afterburner because I wanted Lightspeed, and Lightspeed had sold out. And I just kind of had to go with my second choice. And
Afterburner was a cool toy, though.
oh yeah, it always reminded me of the light cycle in Tron.
Yeah.
So I wasn't never disappointed with Afterburner at all. And on the back of watching Grimlock's New Brain and The Rebirth, Computron featured heavily. And moving on from that, I probably did the same thing in 87 or 88. I still got £1 pocket money, and I probably mowed the lawn or something to get me that extra pound, to get me that £5, that £4.99. I went and I chose the Jawbreaker or Overbite, depending on what it's called, part of the Seacons or Piranacon. And I only bought that because I didn't know a G1 Nor was available, and I wanted something as close as a Sharkticon that I could get. And he was as close as I was going to get to a Sharkticon from Transformers the movie, or an Alligatortron, or whatever an Allicon. So I chose the garishly pink, turquoise, green, teal Seacon as a pocket money choice that month. And they're some of the vividest memories I have of G1 Transformers later on in the timeline. I've got tons of wonderful nostalgic memories about 84, 85 in terms of the Diaclone molds.
Yeah.
The sideswipes and the hoists of the world. But what I did want to mention was perhaps the last toys I got from Transformers that in fact left me with a bitter taste in my mouth. It isn't all, whatever they call it, sunshine and rainbows in the world of Transformers. There has been some frankly awful parts of, that toy. And for I feel like it's my 12th or 13th birthday, the last kind of time that I got toys. My last toy in Transformers was a Pretender Jazz.
Right.
And that did leave me with that bitter taste in my mouth for Transformers. It had become plasticky, and I didn't understand kind of what the Pretender shell was. It was a gift, but yeah, I just felt it was rubbish, and it wasn't Transformers for me. So yeah, I always want to give that honest opinion of Transformers, and that was the last part of Transformers of my childhood. It wasn't until I started collecting later on in life that I reconnected with Transformers. I love Pretenders now. They're some of the coolest toys out there. It's incredible how growing up and changing and becoming an adult collector, your views change.
It's funny. That's actually reminded me about you're saying about pretenders and everything like that. Have you have you ever created a false memory from when you were a kid? So I've got a vivid memory, and I can remember it clear as day, and I can tell you exactly where it was. It was in Woolworths in Bloxwich, if you know where that is, Rudo.
I do.
And I can remember seeing visionaries that came with a shell of the animal that they were meant to be. And I can remember it, and I know it's a load of bollocks because I've looked it up and these things don't exist. And whether my brain has just gone, the pretenders were there and the visionaries were there on the same shelf, and it's put it together, I don't
The
know.
same
But
aisle, they are
yeah,
holding
yeah,
the same space, and you've melded the two toys together,
yeah.
thus
But I can remember
creating
it
the
clearly.
greatest toy line that never happened.
I know. Why didn't that happen? I mean, John's probably getting really excited now because I've
Oh,
mentioned
he's probably got a
visionaries.
stiffy, hasn't he?
He probably has done. I mean, if he's taken his tablet, he can probably get one up, can't but sorry, John.
Soz, John. Not Soz.
But yeah, isn't it weird how you love pretenders? It's up, it's up.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, isn't it weird? Isn't it how like your young brain can create those things? But to your point about when Transformers pretenders mark the end of your childhood Transformers, I think it was Beast Wars for me. I think I was just getting to the point where I'd accepted that these things were going to change all the way through G1.5 and G2 and all the way through to even Action Masters, right? I even accepted the fact that these things didn't transform. But as soon as I saw that monkey, I tapped out. And I'm not saying that the story isn't great because I've heard it is. I just think that maybe looking back now, yeah, the toys you could really see how that started the modern revolution of Transformers and everything like that. But I think it was just because it marked the end of my childhood, and I just couldn't, I couldn't accept it. So I think that was it for me.
We've got 6 years difference, so I didn't really experience G2,
Mm.
but I look at those and I'm thinking, God, they're incredible. If I'd ride it out, the Pretenders, and got to G2, if I'd been slightly different age, it would be a different story. But I didn't even experience Beast Wars until '99. I didn't
Mm.
kind of hear about it or really see it
Mm.
until then, and that was
Mm.
just from buying a tape cassette from Woolworths
Mm.
actually,
Mm.
of a couple of episodes of Beast Wars and seeing little flashes of G1 in it.
Mm.
So yeah, I don't have much connection to Beast Wars.
Mm. 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 It's funny, isn't it? So, what is your first toy memory? Forget Transformers. What is the first toy memory? Because we're here to talk about nostalgia, aren't we?
We
What
are.
what was it?
We're here to
Yeah,
talk about
yeah,
the power of nostalgia.
yeah.
My first toy memory is Big Loader, which was, I think,
Big loader.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was like a mechanized
I
rock
remember that.
quarry toy, and I loved it. I think it was because a lot of my dad's friends were builders and carpenters,
Mm.
so I named the one guy because there was two people, one that drove the truck and one that kind of worked the quarry part, and I called him Chris. And he was the color of the plastic was cream, so he was Chris because he was my dad's friend, who was a carpenter. And here's where we get hilarious with some early 80s mild hilarity racism. That's the only best way I can put it, is that I named the driver of the truck Blackie Sambo.
Oh, good God!
Yes. So
This video has been flagged. I'd like to say
this
that
has,
associated
obviously I've
with
just made
Ruby's
a
Zoo.
racial slur in 2020 when Black Lives Matter. But 4-year-old me in 1982, growing up in Wolverhampton, which was a densely populated, incredible black community. This is what I called the guy that drove the truck. And it
That's
was
just a
my
sign of the times. It doesn't make it right by today's standards, does
oh
it? But
no,
that's just
not at
that was just
all.
the world back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly was.
Mm.
But yeah, that was Big Loader was my toy, and then that love of construction vehicles continued through pretty much every toy line.
Mm. Mine's completely different, to be honest with you. And mine is my parents always used to go out shopping on a Saturday. They did it all through my childhood, and I think they still even do it now. Um, and when I was really young, I used to stay with my nan. I was really close to my nan, and I always remember my mum walking in and shouting at my nan because we'd ripped up 3 rolls of toilet paper to recreate the episode of Thomas the Tank Engine when he got stuck in the snow.
I
And
love that
literally, there
episode.
was toilet. Yeah, class episode. And yeah, so that is my earliest toy memory. But yeah, it's funny. Another one I wanted to mention, and it's just because it's probably too early with your little ones at the moment, but it's weird how like history starts to repeat itself, especially through your children. So back in the day, I went to a school called St John's, and after my first day of school, my dad met me with a toy, which was Ace McCloud, sorry, the Centurion, um, and yeah, I never went back to that school anyway for various reasons. But at that school, my dad met me outside on my first day and gave me this toy, and I can remember it. I can remember the box. I can remember feeling the cardboard on it. Anyway, my son went in for his first day at school about 3 weeks ago. It's like an inset day, ready for September, and I stood outside the school and the penny dropped because I went to another school for the majority of my junior school and primary years, but he goes to St John's School, and I'm standing outside there on his first day with a Pokemon Ivysaur for his first day, and it just hit me when I was standing there. And I didn't even clock it that I'm doing exactly what my dad did for me, like 30 odd years on, and it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Really
Jermaine in the
weird.
comments has literally just mentioned that back then in Thomas the Tank Engine, he was the fat controller.
He was, wasn't he? Now he's the there was the
So
wasn't there
top and
a fat
hat, maybe,
controller?
or
Well, there was a fat controller and a thin controller first.
wow,
I'm
really?
sure they implement. Yeah, I'm sure they put that in,
Because I
and
always
then
knew
they
it was the
went to
fat
Sir Top and
controller.
Hat.
That's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
what
yeah,
it was from Thomas
yeah,
Tank Engine cassette tapes and
yeah.
VHS. That yeah, he's the fat controller. Which
Mm,
again, in this today's world, you can't say that.
yeah, yeah.
To be honest, you probably couldn't have said that in
Nah,
the 80s,
nah.
but you know, it's the innocence of childhood.
Mm, absolutely. Um, isn't it funny how all this has essentially shaped our lives? Like in that moment, innocently walking into Woolworths to probably shut us
Yeah,
up as a kid when you had that afterburn or whatever has made such lasting impressions.
I think
Um,
those things influence my YouTube channel
mhm,
for sure. You know, both of our collections, I'd say, you know what, like 75% based on nostalgia.
mhm. I would
Mine
say so.
even more so, and even the way
Mhm,
that I produce my content on my channel, it is all about emotion
yeah.
and that feeling that I get from
Mm,
toys, and I can still experience that now
mm,
as an adult, and it is all because of what I experienced being a Gen Xer, being born
yeah.
in 1978, to everything that I did growing up.
Mm. Jermaine's absolutely right in the comments, by the way. Fat lives do matter. I've been saying that for 34 years, mate. No, 36 years. Would help if I know my age.
Is
But yeah, you're
there
right.
is there a toy that was massively disappointing to you growing up? See, we've got to be real about toys. We can't just say every toy is awesome. Well, I can because that's all I ever do on my channel.
I'm going to say yes, but it wasn't the toy that was disappointing. And I think
Was it
this
the
is where,
experience?
no, it wasn't even that. It was, and this is where we need to be careful as parents and let our kids find their own thing. My dad bought me one Christmas Tracy Island and the Thunderbird set, which was a cool set, right? But I never really give a shit about Thunderbirds. It was never really my thing. And I suppose I had that and then went everywhere looking for this Tracy Island. And I never really played with it. And I think it was just because it was my dad. He never had that. He only had one of the Thunderbirds when he was a kid. And I think it was more of him kind of impressioning, this is cool, you have it for Christmas. And it wasn't that I was disappointed, it's just it wasn't for me. And this is why I'm really, really careful now. Yeah, Oliver's got some Transformers, but he's massively into Pokemon and Ben 10. Two things that I don't really know anything about, but he loves them. And what I really like is he's gone out there and he's found these things himself. So I suppose, even though the toys were absolutely amazing looking back, I'll probably go with the Thunderbird stuff. How about you, Rudy?
I can't think of something that was massively kind of disappointing, but there was always toys that broke.
Yeah.
But then is that the quality of certain toys, and then toys that have stood the test of time? But yeah, there was probably was toys that were disappointing. The real Ghostbusters are one, aren't they? For me, the wands break, like the wands break.
Yeah. I'm looking at him because I've got some behind me.
And this is, in some ways, this is a way to describe it. Sometimes screen accuracy is all you want, and if that toy doesn't do it, it can be that disappointment, even in the 80s for sure.
Like Ironhide that you were saying on your video earlier.
Yeah, that's always been my thing for years and years. It's only been in the last 2 years when I picked up that Ironhide that I looked at it with fresh eyes and realised that perhaps I was in the wrong. But as a kid, sometimes you want the thing that you see on the screen. And Ecto 1 was not that from Kenner. Don't get me wrong, it's a great toy, but it never had a chair on the top.
I remember breaking the door off on Christmas Day. Sorry, mate, carry on.
Everyone's slightly different about it, but I think again that's what shapes my toy collecting now is some of the disappointments as a child, or how I'm very somewhat precarious about buying toys over the last few years, is because I want each toy that I get to be of a certain standard, and I want every toy to be awesome. I want every toy to really evoke powerful emotions in me. I can't just go to the toy shop and drop 10-15 quid on a toy that I think is all right. And I think that's from my childhood that I'm really, really picky.
But saying that, I think I've lately gone down the opposite route, whereas I know that there's certain things I'll never sell. Like I never sell the majority of my G1 stuff because it is from when I was a kid. It mainly is childhood collection. But I'm not scared to buy something for 20 quid or whatever it is. Experience it, and if it's not for me, I'm happy to move it on now. And I've really changed my mindset because I used to hoard everything. Like I bought a load of Marvel Legends last year. You know this, Rudy. Bought a load of them. Every single one from the MCU I could get my hands on, I'd buy. And then over time, I looked at it and thought, actually, you know what? This collection that I've built up, I don't want this. I just want this. And over the last few months or so, I've been trimming that down. I was mentioning to you before we came on about Rhino. I bought Rhino from Mask, amazing toy, but I've got no nostalgic connection to it because the only Mask toy I had was when I was a kid was Vampire, and it's like, well, why am I creating this nostalgia for something that I never had just because it was from that time? I've experienced it, I've bought it. It's not for me. I need to let it go to someone who wants it. So I suppose me and you are probably at different ends of the spectrum.
For sure, and that's probably why a toy collective like ours works so well, because it's not four guys just saying how incredible toys are. There is real, panic in buying, or there's real kind of just like, I've just bought this and it's a piece of crap, or do I, I've sold all this stuff. Do I go crazy and buy, a giant Optimus Prime that won't even fit on my shelf?
Jermaine's just made a comment obviously the comments, saying he's a big fan of mass toys and he enjoyed collecting them as an adult. And that's an interesting point, because in my head now I've made this rule that if I collected a line when I was a kid, then I've got no problem buying a vintage version of it. But if I really didn't, then I get more fun out of experiencing the newer stuff, like Black Series, like Marvel Legends,
Classified.
all of that kind of stuff. I suppose Classified's a bit different because I did have a massive collection of G.I. Joe.
Yeah, you didn't really have G.I. Joe or Action Force that much, did you?
Oh no, I did. I had a load of G.I. Joes and all that kind of stuff. But I actually remember making a samurai sword out of a massive needle, which I really shouldn't have done as a kid. And a massive needle,
just pure 80s. That is.
Yeah. But yeah, I had a load of G.I. Joes. It was mass stuff I wasn't really into, and wrestling and all that kind of stuff. I never got into that when I was a kid.
I've always said that I would never rebuy the same toy I had as a kid unless it was something very close to my heart, which I did do, didn't I, last year when I bought Hair Fiend?
Yeah.
Because mine had just been lost to time. But in terms of, I won't buy something that I previously had, but I will buy stuff from that toy line that I didn't have because I didn't get to experience it.
Yeah.
I'm always on the hunt for a G.I. Joe Thunder Machine, which, I just cannot find. There's certain Transformers that I want to own because I never had them.
Yeah.
But I still want to be involved in that toy line.
I get,
as well as getting modern interpretations of things. You know me, I've been buying modern interpretations of 1990s action figures that I have zero experience of, but wanted because I looked at the Argos catalogue all the time.
Yeah, which has now stopped existing now. They've stopped doing it.
This is it. This is the last. This is the last one.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to think that kids still do that.
They absolutely don't, man. Although Oliver,
of course they don't.
Bless
My
him,
whole world shattered.
he every morning he'll come to me and go, "Daddy's iPad," and that's my iPad. And all he wants to do is go onto the Smith website and check to see if any of the Pokemon are in stock. Because he wants a Snorlax, so we can't find a Snorlax anywhere. But every morning he'll go in there and he go, "Well, they've got Bulbasaur, but they haven't got Snorlax." And every day he wants to check it. It's funny. But that's his version of the Argos catalogue or the Case catalogue or whatever it was.
And still find stuff out of stock. So some things maybe are the same as 1987 trying to get a Casey Jones.
Maybe. You've got that Casey Jones now, though, haven't you?
I did, and that was a wish list. That was a holy grail for years and years, and that came true. Going to Jolly Giant every Saturday to find that one character and never getting it.
Yeah. What was your one holy grail? I know this topic's been done to death, but I'm guessing you have your holy grail somewhere in your collection. Your true holy grail.
Okay, the holy grails. We've done videos on this, haven't we? And we've spoken about it before, and it's always a tough one. That word gets thrown around so much. It doesn't get thrown and gets used incorrectly.
Yeah.
I've picked up a couple of true holy grails, but yeah, the Thunder Machine is one of them because I never had it as a kid and desperately wanted it. But I'm not going to go out of my way to go and get it. As you said, you can go online and you can find it. I could go and spend whatever 150 quid from one in America and have it shipped over. I might suffer the 5Ds in terms of
it only took what? How long were we
ordering
on this?
something
40
in
minutes?
whilst COVID is on.
Yeah.
It's just. But then again, I kind of, in some ways, my grails kind of, they adapt over each week or month, because I look at the collection and I look back at old kind of toys through reviews on YouTube and thinking, God, I actually really wanted some of those as a kid, in terms of like maybe Galaxy Rangers. I'd like some Galaxy Rangers. Are they Holy Grails? Yeah, possibly. But
So, see, I think for me, and you know this story, right? But I'll repeat myself because I'm getting on a bit now. I only have one Holy Grail, right? And what I class as a Holy Grail is something that you've wanted all your life, that it's always been out of reach, and that was Generation One Swoop for me. I wanted it ever since I was a kid. I love Swoop. He was my favourite Dinobot, and I could not find him anywhere. In fact, I had never seen a real one until the day I bought it. I did buy a KO once because I literally couldn't find one anywhere. And I went down the route of buying a KO and it was broke when it was arrived and everything like that. And I sent it back. And I thought to myself, why am I buying a KO? Why am I buying a false Holy Grail? And then because you were standing next to me when I bought it at TFN on that Sunday on the Toy Food store, there he was, just standing there, 45 quid. And it was amazing to actually pick up that thing, 30 odd years after I wanted it. I've been searching my whole life to actually own one, and it was there. Yeah, it was covered in Decepticon stickers, but it was there. And that's why I think that was my Holy Grail. I've got it now, and he sits over there. I'm scared to touch him and transform him because he's that fragile. There's other things that I wanted, and I've been starting to tick those off. Stuff I've wanted from when I was a kid and stuff I want now. But that was my Holy Grail, and I've got it.
in some ways, a certain sense of relief, which again, that's kind of what a Grail should be. That when you've got it, you can relax and then perhaps move on to another Holy Grail. Because I always want to keep Grails because I want to keep that hunt going. I want to keep that hunt going forever and ever.
There's always things that you want, but I think there is only really one or two true Grails that you can have as a collector, and that was mine because I've been hunting my whole life for it. I'd love a Fort Max, a G1 Fort Max. I'd absolutely love one, but have I been craving it every time I've looked at my Transformers collection as a kid and as an adult? No, it'd just be a nice to have. Swoop was something I'd wanted ever since I first saw the Dinobots in the movie. So, yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, John was with us as well, wasn't he? When I saw that, he just popped it in the comments. Forgot Johnny Boy was there.
So, do we want to end on a little chat about Bots at Home, being that we're coming to the end of the day? That doesn't necessarily mean that Bots at Home ends. I certainly know that there's a couple of Americans who have contacted us and wanted to be involved, and I know there's obviously a time difference. So perhaps there'll be later videos from perhaps Kato or Soundwave 8084. You might still get Bots at Home videos into the next day. But yeah, shall we?
Why don't we close that off then, and we'll have a few questions then from everyone who's been patiently listening to us and everything like that. So I suppose the reason why we're here, and we've said it a number of times, is that we're trying to collect some money for Mary's Meals. As this year they won't get the donations that they normally get from Toy Fair. So we've managed to raise £285 so far today. So I think that's good going. I think I put the target down there as 500. I just stuck whatever down there, to be honest, because every pound, every penny will help, won't it? But to get 285 quid, we've had 22 people who have reached into their pocket and have donated something. And that's amazing. And thank you to every person that's done that. I think this has been a success because of the people who are sitting here on the chat now. All the people who have watched the video, who have made a video, who have contributed. And would you like to do it again sometime? I know I would. I think it'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a huge success. We said before we went on the live stream that we had no idea 2 months ago when we kind of came up with this idea and concept what it was going to be like, or it was even going to be successful. We didn't know who would be involved, and as time has progressed, it's really come together, and it's been a huge success. We've had incredible feedback on how to even improve it from people. There's been a great dialect between so many people, backwards and forwards. That in some ways, the whole world has got involved. We've got people from Canada, we've had people from Hawaii, we've had people from America, Scotland, Wales, all making videos. It's been absolutely incredible. People commenting that I think the G1 eBay challenge was a huge success.
That was amazing, that video.
Yeah,
That was
that's why I made it the feature presentation. Yeah. We joked that if I don't have to see another thumbnail, I would be incredibly happy. You know, I spent weeks and weeks coming up with the artwork and changing it, making spelling mistakes, changing people's times, getting time zones wrong. It's just, if I don't have to see another Box at Home thumbnail, I'll be very happy.
It almost broke my heart last night telling you that Siege was misspelled.
Oh yeah, obviously. Because, you know, I'm just not the biggest Transformers fan, so I know that Siege isn't spelled like that. I am a big Transformers fan, obviously, just not every inclination.
And you know what, as well, I think Bisto made a great point where he said that, you know what, this has really helped him, give him something to focus on. Because let's face it, like, I'm not going to say the unprecedented word, but none of us have ever gone through this kind of stuff before we've been going through this year, and it has given an element of focus.
We were in lockdown 4 months.
Yeah.
You know, some of us couldn't leave the house. Some of us chose not to leave the house. Some of us working at home. Some of us furloughed at home, not having, you know, money. You know, 80% wages, not having any sort of interaction with the world, and cons being cancelled left, right, and centre. Not just in England, but in America as well. You know, TFCon's not, you know, happening this year. TF Nation's not happening. Royal Roll's not happening. So when you came with the idea, and it's been incredible. I've enjoyed so much of today, and I've not even watched all of the content. I've just not had time.
I've tried to watch as much as I physically could, and the great thing is there's going to be loads more to catch up on, and bits that we can rewatch and all of that stuff. But yeah, I think it's best that we just say thank you to everyone that's donated, thank you to everyone that's taken part, and maybe we can do it again this time next year. Who knows?
Watch this space. You never know. And knowing is half the battle. You know, I've got to get that in there. It's my signature figure force.
You've got to get it in there, bud. You've got to get it in there. Shall we open up to some questions then? We've just had another donation, by the way. It's popped up, so we've got another tenner. So thank you.
Wonderful.
Open up to some questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I've not gone back through the chat, so that there might even been questions, but yeah, hit us with questions. It always takes a bit of time, doesn't it, for people to type? And
yeah,
I've been on live shows before and not kept up with the chat. I was on around 30 minutes with Deluxe Baldwin the other day, and I barely even looked at the chat, and I was just like, so just bless everyone, because we were just having such an incredible time chatting that the chat had just gone by so fast that missed out on a few questions.
Well, we've got one from Brad. He wants to know if I'm still half buff. This is because I made the comment earlier that I was basically naked from the waist down.
Always.
And I can.
Is that not how you make videos?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I'm naked now. I can see my tallywhacker right at this moment. Is that happy, Brad? You happy with that?
Yeah.
I won't stand up. Right, we've got another question. Most nostalgic moment as an adult collector. Rudy, you want to take that one?
Do you know? Yes, I know. Do you know what? I should have thought ahead. A few years ago, a toy was made of the Die-X from Starfleet. Starfleet was a show kind of like Thunderbirds, made in Japan by Go Nagai, imported over to the UK, rebranded as Starfleet. So it was X-Bomber, rebranded as Starfleet. And 3 spaceships kind of merged together to create a robot. There was a head, a body, and the legs. They made toys in the 80s, but they never came over to the UK. And then finally, one got made a few years ago, and as soon as I could get it, I did. And it brought back incredible amounts of nostalgia. It was one of my favourite shows growing up, and I managed to own one.
That's good.
There is a review of it on my channel. I did a whole maybe about a 30-minute video on it. It's my most viewed video. It's got like some like 690 views, that video. It's like way over anything else. Most of my videos get about 30 views, but this one has just gone sky high. So yeah, that's a nostalgic moment for me.
I don't know really with mine. I'm looking.
I do have another.
Go on. While I'm looking around.
I think it was like last year. My dad sent me a parcel in the post with the note of I saw this and thought of you, and I knew it was kind of a toy. And in my head, because my dad is like a very keen charity shop person, like buying all clothes and records and all that jazz, he was just like, oh, I found this. He'd found an AWE Striker, but what he'd found was my original, which I thought I'd donated. For people that don't know, I donated 90% of my childhood toy collection to a hospice for dying children, and I kept select pieces. I really thought I'd given away my AWE Striker, and then I opened up the box. I did an unboxing video, and lo and behold, it was my original, and I knew that because of the scratched play marks on it. That was an incredibly nostalgic moment for me.
Yeah, I
bet think that was last year.
Yeah, I think it was. I suppose for me, meeting Cullen and Welker, and getting them to sign my original VHS for Transformers the movie, I think it was pretty amazing to go. This copy here was the actual film where I heard your voices on over and over as a kid, and I'm passing it to you now to write on it, and I'm meeting you 30 odd years later. And I think I was chatting to you and Junkeep Dave about what to get signed. And I can't remember if it was you or Dave that suggested the VHS. It might have been Dave, but it was absolutely the right thing to ever suggested it anyway. To take that thing, to take that representation, that record of that was my Optimus Prime and my Megatron and my movie on that cassette, and to get that signed by essentially my heroes was amazing. To do that early this year, so I think I'll go for that one. We've got a Vintage Toy Rush have asked us, thanks for saying we're doing a great job. Could this be a yearly thing? I suppose it could be, as we said earlier.
I even think it could be less than a year. We could do, like a 6 monthly
thing,
or we could do like Joe's at home. We could do like perhaps a themed half a day of content related to Action Force and G.I. Joe, or toys from a certain period.
Could we do John at home, where we just video John being at home for like a day?
Well, just every video is Ultra Magnus.
But no White Primes.
Yeah,
just
no
John.
White Primes.
Just doing John things. Yeah.
I think John at home.
John at home. Yeah, John at home.
Love it.
Yeah.
So yes, we can. It will become. Yes, it will become I think it will become a yearly thing.
Yeah.
We kind of so. We know what we're doing now. We can develop it even further. God knows there could be a second wave of COVID. We could be doing this in 3 months' time again. But yeah, more people get involved. Make it bigger, grow it, expand.
Jermaine has asked, do you feel pressure setting this up knowing what was coming in 2 weeks? So I'm guessing you mean TFN, the experience that they're doing at home. We come up with this before, TFN announced we're doing that, didn't they?
Yeah.
I
But
don't
I
think
always.
Sorry,
Go on.
carry on.
Do you remember I said we need to make it as different from TFN as possible? I said I don't want to tread on TFN's toes. We want to bring.
Those were your exact words.
I said I wanted to bring the flavour of the bar to
Yeah.
TFN. It's just like there's no need to recreate what TFN is doing because they're all going to bring it. I'd hope.
Let's face it,
to
right?
us.
We're not TFN, right?
No, and I never wanted us
TFN
to
do
be.
an amazing job, and they put together a great convention. But the point of this was to give the fans something to look forward to during
Yeah.
lockdown, when all the events were being cancelled, and also to raise a little bit of money. And it was never a competition with them because we lose, right? Because we've got no funding. This hasn't cost us any money. The only money that's been spent is probably on the G1 challenge and donations. Yeah.
For a G1 bot.
And this is the thing, right? We haven't got the big budgets and that kind of stuff, and we're not trying to be. I think, and that's why there was no pressure, because there's no competition. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. It's just thanks, Jermaine.
It's a really good question.
Really good question, and it's something that we should have kind of we should have said from the start, but we were never trying to be.
Yeah.
TFN.
John's asked, "Do you need a fifth member of Figure Force?" Asking for a friend. Fifth Force. The answer is no, John. We don't.
No, John. Some of us are taking hiatuses from YouTube, but it's still a living, breathing thing. Do you want to come back, John? Is that it?
Like the world's worst boomerang. Scottish boomerang.
Do you know what? Figure Force is often doing
John.
challenge videos. Anybody can be part of Figure Force by doing a response to our challenge videos.
Yeah, let's be honest about it, right? The whole Figure Force thing is an amazing thing that we come up with, over a year ago now, maybe a little bit longer. I can't remember. It was 2 years, believe now.
Yeah.
But let's face
2.5.
Right? It's not something that Dave doesn't really do YouTube anymore. Dave Shotton does very little. Smuz now has had a lot going on in his life.
He's had a year of different life-changing bits, so he's definitely on hiatus at the moment.
Yeah, you've had a year of life-changing stuff as well.
I bought a house and I had 2 little action figures of my own. So
and like we've all been doing our own things outside of YouTube, and it's just nice to come together for something like this. Even though the videos might not be as regular as the once were, it doesn't matter what you call yourself, whether it's Figure Force, whether it's the TFYTC, whatever it is. All we are is a bunch of fans that have come together to do this event, and to do videos, and hopefully we'll become friends and make new friends because of it. Okay. Jermaine just said that Mary's Mills is now at 320 quid. That's amazing news.
Incredible.
I'm trying to see if there's any more videos, any more questions. Have we got any more questions? John might be able to grow a goatee. That's always good to know. Rudy, have you got one final question for me, and I'll think of one for you before we close off?
Shall we? What are you looking forward next in the realms of Transformers?
Oh, the realms of... Well,
being that it is a Transformers fan convention, we should finish on a Transformers note.
Okay, that is a very good question. And I think what I'm looking forward to is the main line finally delivering the toys I've always wanted as a kid. Now, I hear that G1's been rehashed over and over again, and you're absolutely right, it has. Absolutely right. But it has never given us the real versions that we wanted. And I say we, I'm talking about people who were born in the 80s. I know people who were born later will want different things. People who want read the comics, different things. But we've always wanted, well, I've always wanted, and I know a number of people have always wanted, G1 cartoon looking representations of the characters. And we're finally starting to get that with Siege and Earthrise. We're getting the Shotacons and the Quintessons. And we had Shotacons already, but the Alicons, the Quintesson, things we've never had before. We're getting an Ironhide that actually looks like Ironhide in both modes. So to me, I'm looking forward to getting those, and I'm also looking forward to finishing my 1986 masterpiece lineup at some point over the next year or so. I class the 1986 bots as the new bots that appeared in the film. So, for example, Bumblebee and Jazz are in the movie, but they're not movie bots. But Hot Rod and Cup are, because they were new to the movie. That's how I categorise it in my head. I might not be right. If you think differently, fine. But I'm only missing a Blur and a Wheelie now at MP level. So I suppose I'm looking forward to closing off a few bits of the collection. How about you, Rudy?
I am looking forward to purchasing a Transformer for the first time from the main line in a long time. Obviously, I just bought a G1 toy, albeit a knockoff. The last time I bought a mainline toy was Punch, which was incredible, from Titan's Return. I am looking forward to picking up the Quintesson Pit.
Yeah,
to finally owning. Yeah, if we can get it. I think we will. Indie Man and Kapow always kind of, at the very last moment, they will have it, I think. If not, I do enjoy an online hunt. And just this other day, I managed to pre-order something that is incredibly limited. They only made 3,000 of this, and I am getting one. So, but I think what I'm most looking forward to is that Quintesson Pit. To finally have a Quintesson and an Alicon and a Judge and a Kranix. Things that I always wanted as a kid and never had. And to actually experience new Transformers, because I don't buy Transformers.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm most looking forward to. Or repaints.
Yeah, more repaints.
No, I am generally, if they take Scorponok and they make him into Black Zarak, I think that could be.
That could be next year's Titan, couldn't it?
It could be.
It could be with King.
If they're going to go down the Japanese continuity, I think that's when repaints are done well. You could get a Black Zarak.
I hope it's a tidal
The
wave.
possibility. Do you know what actually I'm looking forward to? Do you remember earlier in the year, or even last year, they teased the fact of re-releasing the train bots, or releasing train bots to the West,
and then forgot all about it.
And then it never got mentioned again. I think it was called Project Raiden.
Yeah.
If that's a thing, I'd be excited about that. I am excited about that. I've always wanted those. I love trains. I love transforming trains. So yeah, they're just a few things I'm interested in, looking forward to in Transformers.
Okay, so let's end this on a controversial topic. Well, I'll say controversial. Who killed Optimus Prime in the movie?
Himself.
Ooh. Do you want to elaborate on that a bit more?
No plead for it. I thought you were made of sterner stuff. Prime could have just taken him down, couldn't he?
And he didn't.
I've never thought it was Hot Rod. I just didn't think he did it. I guess Megatron killed him.
I never thought it was Hot Rod until I saw that when the camera switches, the beams are an orange colour that hit Optimus Prime, where they're purple when they come out of the gun that Megatron shoots. So there's that theory, even that's a lot of bollocks, well, because they're going to make a cartoon full of errors. I mean, there's 2 bleeding sunstreakers, for God's sake, so it's full of
Yeah.
it's full
One
of
in the
errors.
shuttle, one on the ground. How?
And
God, it's
Hound as
full
well.
of animation errors. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we were talking about the bombshell and Skywarp thing earlier, weren't we? To me, I always thought that Preceptor, when he's in his microscope mode and he's examining Prime, he's looking at that stab wound on
Mhm.
this side, and he goes, "Oh, it appears the wounds are fatal." So I always took that as that piece of rock that hit Optimus Prime there was the fatal blow.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he was always going to die afterwards. Anyway, so I might be
Megatron.
wrong. So
But then
Megatron
in some
killed him.
ways, he naturally dies, doesn't he? He's wounded in battle. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So there you
Megatron.
go.
To give a definitive answer, because I didn't give definitive answers about repaints earlier, I'm going to give a definitive one about Megatron destroyed Optimus Prime with that, throwing that spear of shard of metal into him.
Yeah. I have to say, how good was the Rebirth episode? I think that is such an underrated episode when Optimus comes back and the hate plague and everything like that.
Oh, we've just started
Absolutely
up
amazing.
a whole new
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
God, yeah, it's. I wish it had been 5 episodes. I think they
Right.
could have, if the money and the demand was there. I think that 5 episode would have told that story a lot
Yeah.
better. It's rushed,
I love it.
but yeah,
I'd echo it's rushed, but I always remember that loving the fact that he'd returned when he stands up. And
he'd
all that
returned.
stuff.
Hot Rod had returned.
Yeah.
There was Target Masters. There was Headmasters. There was different scales of robots in.
Yeah. And there was Overlord released in Woolworths for $29.99 that had no conjunction with that story whatsoever, but it was there. I know.
City Formers. It's
Yeah.
I've mentioned this before actually. For a long time, I'd prefer to watch the Rebirth over the movie,
Mm.
and then subsequently, that it's just a movie every time. But it's
Yeah.
it's a great set of episodes.
Mm-hmm. You exaggerate. Okay. So I think we've done an hour or so, haven't we?
Yeah,
we
we've done like an hour and 7 minutes.
Yeah. Do we tap out? Is this the closing ceremony?
I think, yeah,
For now,
I think so.
For now.
For now.
So we're passing the baton over to our friends over the pond. Is it Soundwave 8084?
Soundwave 8084.
Yeah, and
we were
Kato
messaging backwards and
potentially.
forwards. He was hoping to get some videos done, and Kato was hoping to get something done.
Yeah. Well. Again, thank you to everyone who's taken part. Thank you to everyone who has stayed on this late and watched all day. Thank you to Jermaine for nursing that hangover that's probably going to be with him all week. And at this moment in time, we've raised 320 quid, so it's an amazing effort. So thank you, everyone. And I suppose until next year, till all I want. God, that was cheesy. I apologise.
Yeah, I feel awkward now.
Yeah. Do you want to do your bit and make it better?
No. That's it. Oh, seriously, no.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for watching. This has been
cheers,
Bots at
everyone.
Home, a virtual Transformers fan convention. For fans, by fans.
And remember, if you are to order a parcel from China in the middle of a global pandemic, then you might end up with some delays that aren't necessarily because there's people doing more important shit than bringing your Tobots. And until next time, and now you know, and now is half the battle.
It's half the battle.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rudy.
Thank you, Rich. Bye.
Bye.